Hello, welcome to today's video. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and if you're not, I hope this video can bring you a little bit of comfort. So I'm somewhere new. Let's just talk for a bit. I recorded this video already, and I recorded like 3 other videos, a bullet journaling video, a ranking all my 2022 book videos. I have another video I'm editing, and it was all on a hard drive, which got corrupted, and I lost all the videos. And I was crying last night at like 3 in the morning. I was crying this morning because it was so much work, and I did all that so I could get ahead. And I'm going back to school tomorrow. Today's January 5th, and I recorded them back like on Christmas, the day after Christmas, so I could edit them now and be able to upload them while I'm in school, basically. And unfortunately, I couldn't do that. So now I'm here re-recording this video, and I've talked to one of my best friends. I've spoken to my Gigi, and I just realized there's no point in still crying about it. I can't do anything. I'm buying new thumb drives so it doesn't happen again. I'm going to be more careful, make sure I'm always ejecting it, things like that. And I figured now I can just re-record it, and every time I record a video there's always something I wish I said during it, so this will just be my chance to make sure I say this better, especially because this is an advice video. As you read by the title, advice for 2023, big sister stuff. So I'm the oldest of 9 kids, and 7 of my siblings are boys, and so I've always had like a nurturing mother energy around me. I've always loved helping people, mentioned this multiple times on this channel, and I've experienced a lot of life in my short time on this earth, so I always want to give tips and advice on what I've learned, things like that. That's what I've always wanted to do with this channel, was always sharing my knowledge, sharing stories, and just showing parts of my life so other people can learn from it or not feel so alone, things like that. And so I wanted to create a series, maybe a podcast at some point, and it's like big sister advice, big sister tips. And so at some point in the future, y'all can send me questions that y'all may be too scared to ask someone in person, or just questions to random things, or like I want to do girly videos for like periods and stuff. And yeah, I just want to give advice and help people. I didn't even talk about why I was outside. Gosh, I feel like I'm all over the place this morning. I was outside because I'm been obsessed with Stray Kids, and I'm learning the Hyunjin's choreography for Play with Fire, and I finished it actually. So I've been outside, been getting really back into dancing, and I love that. And I think everyone should get back into their childhood hobbies at some point in their life, because I don't think you'll ever find a greater joy than redoing things that you loved to do as a child. And I posted that in the description of a previous video on it's so important to make sure that whenever you're trying to find hobbies and passions, try to redo things that you did as a child. So if you liked drawing as a child, do it as an adult, and I can promise you, you're going to find some joy in it. If you liked running as a child, you're most likely going to still enjoy running as an adult. It's just that childhood innocence where you're not distracted by anything, that's how you find out what you truly like and dislike. And then of course, like, things can change, interests can change, but at the core I believe that it stays almost the same. And I've been getting back into dancing and reading, and I don't think I've been happier. Like, really, 2022 was a good year for me. And even though I'm off to a rocky start in 2023, that does not mean the rest of my year is ruined. It's just one bad moment, and that's it. So I'm outside, right, because I was learning that dance, and I just needed a new environment after recording this video already. Let me find it in my notes app. These are do nots, things to kind of just stay away from or just be aware of within this next year, and then some things that you should do and try to incorporate more, especially if a lot of the do's are things that if you have anxiety, because I have social anxiety, and so these are things that have helped me, and just things to just make every day of this new year better. So the first thing is, do not be afraid to let people go. I'm gonna link videos in the description box for things that helped me get to where I'm at and the things I'm saying right now. So people are going to change. I was watching Cinema Therapy in the newest video for bad guys, and it's how whenever you're friends with people, or friends or family, or have relationships with people, you have to be willing to let them grow, right? I believe it's so important that everyone's just always growing and trying to improve and be better than who they were before. But it's also important to realize that as you're growing and changing, the people around you are also growing and changing, and you have to be able to give them room to change and become a new person. And while you're developing, forming your interests, hobbies, passions, changing your mindset, the people around you are doing the same thing, and they may change in a way that you don't like. Their values may not align with your values at a certain point. And I think that's something that just needs to be accepted. And that person, you may not want that person in your life all the time. It doesn't mean you have to cut them out completely. It just means that you're accepting the fact that you don't agree with them on certain things, or that you're both just different. You both just grew in separate ways, and it's okay to move on from friendships. Friendships don't have to end in yelling and fighting, or relationships or family like connections. It could just be that you just grew apart, and you can still be cordial and still be nice and still be respectful and wish the best for people, but it doesn't mean you're always gonna be together forever, right? As much as we want that childhood fantasy, I think it's also important to just be able to accept that people change, and sometimes people will change and you may grow closer and form a better connection. But it's always important to make sure that you allow people room to grow, and then people in your life allow you room to grow and change. And in the end, if y'all do go off in different directions, it's okay to let people go. I had this happen with a couple friends of mine, especially from freshman year to senior year, and it's hard. It's not easy, and it's just, I remind myself to just hold on to the good memories. These people were like the most important people in my life at some point, so there's no point in ignoring that moment of my life or ignoring them and who they are. We just grew apart. Their interests and passions and likes and dislikes just are things that I don't agree with or I don't like, and that's okay. When I see them in public, like, we're still fine with each other. We're just not as close as we used to be, and that's fine. Another one for reevaluating friendships, relationships, is if your friendship only relies on humor, where you are putting each other down, then maybe reevaluate it, right? So what I mean is, don't make fun of people for things that they can't change, like their intelligence, the clothes they wear, the grades that they get, how they look, their family life, how much money they have. And I remember a substitute teacher told this to the class. I remember in middle school, I was like, but what else is there to joke about with your friends? Like, that's our humor, basically. We like make fun of each other. And it wasn't until I got older and I started maturing where I realized those weren't the best friendships. Were the only jokes, and the only time we could laugh with each other is when we were putting each other down. Like, those aren't good, healthy relationships. Because now I have a new group of friends where we laugh all the time. We'll just look at each other and start laughing, and it's not because we put each other down, it's not because we make fun of each other, but it's because we're genuinely the funniest people in the world, and no one can convince me otherwise. Sure, like, we still have the inside jokes and we like tease each other, but we're not like targeting people. We're not saying things deliberately, and we make sure we check on person, like, hey, like, if you want me to stop making this joke, I will. And if your friendships or the relationships you're in right now, if the only enjoyment you have is because you're putting each other down, making fun of each other for things that you can't change, getting real personal, like really mean and personal, then maybe reevaluate it on both ends, if they make those jokes to you or if you make those jokes to other people. This is a big thing. Don't make self-deprecating jokes. I feel like that is kind of the Gen Z humor, or it was, when was I in 7th grade? 5 years ago? So back in like 2017. Oh my gosh, definitely 2017, 2018. Because I know 7th grade year was probably one of my lowest points in my life. I genuinely think it's because of the environment and how it was like cool and quirky or whatever to make self-deprecating jokes where you're like, oh yeah, I'm ugly, I hate myself, I'm the worst thing, oh yeah, I suck, I have depression. Like, those jokes aren't funny either. And those aren't jokes. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard that your brain can't tell the difference between a joke and a statement. So if you're constantly joking about how much you hate your body or how much you don't like yourself and how you're worthless, things like that, then your brain is going to genuinely start believing it. And then it just causes this unhealthy cycle over and over of self-deprecation. And you can't grow or thrive that way. When my friends make jokes like that, I catch them, I'm like, don't say that. Please don't make that joke. Or that's not funny. Don't say that. And if it ruins the moment or whatever, then let it ruin the moment, because no one should be putting themselves down like that. There's so many other things going on in this world and so many things happening in people's lives that you should not be your biggest enemy. I know we often are, we're always our biggest critic, but there's so much more going on in life to be tearing yourself down all the time. And I know I don't do it as much at all, and I catch myself doing it probably once here or there, but I really don't do as much. And if I do, my friends will tell me like, hey, don't, like, that's not true. And I'm like, you're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that about myself. And like, apologize and forgive yourself. It's fine. It's fine to forgive yourself. I think that's really what I think a lot of people need, is forgiveness, not for other people, but for themselves. So yeah, self-deprecate jokes are a no-no, and really the best way to get over those is to fake it until you make it. Just as I said, your brain can't tell the difference between joking and statement. If you tell yourself every day, like, I'm funny, then one day you're just going to start believing it. If you tell yourself, I have a great smile, even if you don't think it, even if you think you have the worst smile, if you keep telling yourself that, your brain will start to believe it. And then you'll look at your smile and be like, you know what, I do have a pretty nice smile. And even if you don't believe it, I believe it. I believe in you. I believe that you are amazing, that you are so beautiful, so handsome, and that you deserve great things in life. So if you need someone else to be supporting in you and believing in you, I'll support you and believe in you. Alright, so moving on to things to maybe think about and increase more for 2023. This was great advice that someone in my psychology class told me. I love her so much. She said that when she was in high school, oftentimes like she would walk with her head down and think like, oh, well, no one wants to talk to me. And it made it really difficult for her to make friends. And it wasn't until she started thinking, everyone wants to talk to me, that she started going out and talking to more people and taking the initiative. And I know for myself personally, I have social anxiety in the sense that I don't like being alone in crowded places. And so often if I was walking my school campus, I would walk with my head down, like try to be on my phone, try to look distracted, try to look busy or whatever. And I've recently had to force myself to have my head up or even look at the sky. I would rather look at the sky and take in my surroundings than be looking down on my phone. And so when she told me this, like, whenever you're walking around, just think to yourself, everyone wants to talk to me. If you tell yourself this, then it makes you feel more open for interactions. Even if that terrifies you, just think when you're walking the halls, like, yeah, people want to talk to me. People want to get to know me because I'm amazing. And even if you don't physically take that initiative, it just makes you feel more open to meeting new people. And I think meeting new people and forming relationships is one of the amazing things that we can do in this thing called life. Another thing that I've been telling myself is 1, 2, 3, go. Again, with my anxiety, I have to like work myself up. I'm a very J person. I'm an INFJ if you wanted to know my Myers-Briggs. And so I'm a very organized person. I like to have a plan, and I think that probably coincides with my anxiety where I have to plan things out step by step. And if you're like that, that's fine. Admit to yourself that that's just how you live, and other people are able to do things that you can't. So because of my anxiety, I do have to plan what I'm gonna say to the cashier before I get up there. But I know my mom doesn't have to, because she can talk to anyone. And that doesn't make me any less of an amazing person just because of that. It's just I have to live my life differently to live. And so one thing to really just push myself out there and to really just the initiative, it's always just starting that's really difficult. Starting anything is the most difficult thing in the world. And just if you're sitting in your car dreading going into a job interview, you're sitting in your car not wanting to go to practice or being too anxious to go into a new first day of school, you just gotta tell yourself 1, 2, 3, go, and just open the car door, or just walk out of your house, or go do it, or make that phone call. And once you start it and you're in the motion of it, you're gonna be in your head like, wow, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But your body is just gonna keep walking and it's gonna keep going, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing this. Like you're building momentum. You're like, all right, I threw myself off the cliff and now here I go, right? And so just telling that to your brain, like once you start it, you're like, crap, I can't stop now. That's one of the best things I can say, especially if you have anxiety and like starting something, you just gotta throw yourself in the deep end. There's someone you wanna talk to, just walk up there and say hi. I don't know what's gonna happen next. They could be like, hi, or they could be like, hi, you know? You just gotta throw yourself in before your brain has time to talk you out of it. Because your brain, especially if you have anxiety, will try and find a way to talk you out of it. This next one is to always switch a negative to a positive. Just like how I did in the beginning of this video, saying how, sure, my 2023 is starting off to a rocky start, but it doesn't mean the rest of my year is gonna be like this. I'm so excited for what this year has planned for me. So if there's something that you really don't want to do, instead of sitting around complaining about it, I really don't want to do this job interview, I'm really nervous for this job interview, I really don't want to go to volleyball practice, I'm really nervous to take this test, then tell yourself, I'm really excited to get home after this job interview. I'm really excited to take a long shower after practice. I can't wait to be done with this final exam. So if there's ever something that you don't want to do or anything you're anxious about, try switching it to a positive. So then instead of dreading something, instead of being anxious about something, nervous about something, and ruining your day, ruining your mood, it creates negative thoughts in your head, which once those start, it's very difficult to sometimes get out of. And so instead, flip those negatives to a positive and have something to look forward to, have something to be excited about, and it will make whatever you're about to do just a bit more enjoyable. I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you just keeping these things in mind with your relationships and with relationships with others and your relationship with yourself will make 2023 just a bit better. My final tip is to not focus on having a romantic relationship. So I think that's another thing, especially with social media, that we just see so many happy couples and things like that, and the idea of being in a romantic relationship is almost romanticized by our younger generation, or even millennials too. I feel like millennials growing up were always raised with the idea that, oh, you need to go to college, get a job, get married, have a family, and you're set. Like, you need to check off this list to be happy and successful. And I don't think that's true at all. That list may be out of order, things on that list may be scratched out and never happening, and that's fine. I feel like a lot of people are raised or just grow up hoping and waiting for when they're going to be in love. However, I don't think a lot of people understand the difficulties it takes to be in a relationship. Again, I've never been in a relationship. A lot of this is just from what I've seen or from cinema therapy. They're really amazing and I love them. You should go check them out. I'll link them down below. But relationships aren't always being happy, going on dates, cuddles, movies, things like that. No, it's hard work. If you care for someone and you are with them romantically, it's putting their needs before your own. It's making sure they're safe, and it's checking in on them and make sure they're happy and they're healthy, and it's whenever they're having a bad day, you're not blabbing about your good day. It's being able to put aside your wants and needs to make sure they're good too. Again, it's growing with each other. There's so much to being in a relationship that I don't think a lot of people understand, and it took me a while to understand too. And it was at a certain point where instead of focusing on being in a relationship, I always wanted to make sure, am I even ready for one? Do I feel ready to be in a committed relationship where I'm going to be concerned about this person's well-being as much as my own? Where I'm going to wake up and want to make sure, are they okay? Do they want to hang out? Do they need something? Are they sick? Do they need a ride to work? Am I genuinely ready for that type of commitment? And I think that's a question a lot of people need to ask themselves before getting into a relationship, because a lot of people just throw themselves in expecting it to work itself out when it doesn't always do that. Sometimes it does, sure. And so going into the idea that romantic relationships are often romanticized, I think there's so much you can get out of being single. There's so much more to life. There's a lot of things in life that are fun and enjoyable that you can do when you're single. Like just going out and having fun with friends, not having to be concerned about anyone aside from yourself. There's just a certain enjoyment that can be done being single that a lot of people just forget about, or instead just sit and wallow in the fact that they're single and alone and they have no one. When you can feel loved and form genuine connections platonically and through family and things like that, you don't have to be in love or romanticize and always be fascinated by being in love with someone to feel happy. And I'll link a video down below of a girl, and it was, I don't know what you call it, like a kind of like a documentary, but I don't know, almost like a TED Talk. What are those called? A commentary? I really don't know the name of it, but it's called like Why You Don't Need to Be in Love Right Now, things like that. She explains it so well and goes into many different aspects of it. But for this next year, I would just say reevaluate if you even feel ready for a romantic relationship. And if you are, great. If you're not, that's fine. What are the things you want to work on? And don't let the fact that you're not in a relationship hold you back from living life. And then overall, there's just so much life to be lived that wallowing or being sad and putting yourself down, putting others down, being upset that you're not in a relationship, being too anxious or too scared to do something. Like, life is too short. It really is too short to let any of that get in the way. And I'm not saying it's easy, trust me, I still struggle, but it's just whenever you're feeling those emotions, making sure you feel them, you express them, and then you let them go. Don't hold on to these feelings and like harbor them forever. Don't let them live on. Like, let them live their lifespan and then let them go. You're not defined by those feelings. I was like trying to quote this one. It's on my iPhone because I have like anime widgets. Can you see that that's Bokuto? And then I have quotes that flip between the two. And anyway, the quote says, "Feel the emotion, but don't become the emotion. Witness it, allow it, release it." And what else is there to be said other than that? There's nothing wrong with emotions, whether it's angry, sad, happy, envy, like jealousy, anger, fear. All of those emotions are valid and should be felt and expressed. I think that's all my advice for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do want to make more videos like this, just rambling and talking and just giving tips and advice and my life, like sharing my life experiences, sharing what I've learned or read, and hope I could help other people. I want to do a Q&A, so if you have any questions about life, about relationships, about my thoughts and feelings on them or whatever, feel free to put them down in the comments below. I would, again, love to make a video going through all y'all's comments and answering them and helping y'all however I can. So again, remember, you are loved and you are worthy, you are smart, you are kind, you are important. Also, don't forget to check out my description box down below, and I hope you have a wonderful day today. YouTube ideas. Best advice I've ever heard. Not completed, actually, because I'm re-recording this. My back door slams, but I did something so it won't be as loud. The people around you are doing the same thing, and that's the best thing I can. But I do think that being everyone, the sun is like really coming for me right now. But isn't that technically agoraphobia? Anyway, okay, plane. You want your pie chart to be evenly cut up.